Hello, welcome to another video with Average Guy's Garage. Well, today we're going to change a couple of wheel studs, and I'm not sure whether it was because of the recent hurricanes and all the water, but two of those were rusted on solid. Yesterday I did a disc pad replacement on the front of this Toyota 2000 Toyota Corolla and snapped off two of the lug nuts. So we purchased replacement lug nuts. They're supposed to be 21mm bolts, 21mm nuts, and couldn't find the 21mm socket, so I'm using a 13/16. It's working fine. And we'll get started. I'm going to take off these two lug nuts that are holding it on, remove the caliper, the brake pads, the caliper bracket, and then we'll talk then about how you get these studs out. Alright, the wheel is off, and now the next thing is to, well, the tire is off and the wheel. The next thing is to remove two 14mm bolts here that hold the caliper in place. They're kind of short, stubby guys. And one thing, I don't know if you can see in here very well, there's a metal flange here that has a straight edge on it that will go against this straight edge when you put it back together in order for the bolt to make the proper connection. If this little flange is against this part, it won't reach in far enough, but it kind of adjusts itself as you turn it, and it'll finally lock in place. Alright, I'll get the bottom one off and then take the caliper off. Okay, both bolts are off now for the caliper, and you just want to wedge something behind it to start loosening it, and then eventually you'll be able to work it off. And we'll put it up out of the way right now. Okay, we're going to take these brake pads out. These are brand new pads I just put on yesterday. And the reason I didn't do this was because I put the brake pads on late in the evening and then ran out of time before it got dark. Alright, the next thing is to take off this caliper bracket because it's blocking us from taking off this rotor. And there's a couple of, see if I can see it, 17mm back here, and that might take a breaker bar to get those loosened up because they haven't been off as far as I know. And I took a little bit of muscle to get them started, but after that they came out okay. And a little bit of working back here, just by feel. But the bracket's off, and now it's time to take off the brake rotor. Alright, the brake rotor is off now, and you can see there's a broken stud here, but the access to get it out is this little cutout right here. So this has to be revolved around to match up with this. Then you just tap it out with a hammer, put the next one in, and then we'll go from there. So we've got to get the car into neutral so I can twist this around to right here to put it back in park. Alright, I've put the car in neutral, made sure the emergency brake was on, wheels are chalked, and we want to line this up So just should be able to turn it enough to pass this upper part here and this lower part here of this cutout. So now we're going to try to tap it out. I say tap it out. Oh. Alright, there's the lesson, is you have to protect this caliper and the hose. So I'm going to get a bungee cord, tie that up. Okay, back now with the caliper secured. We'll go back to tapping on this. Alright, there it goes. Came out alright. This is the replacement. They've gone up in price a little bit. I mean, they won't break the bank, but these used to be like $1.50 and $1, but now these are $2.99 and these are $2.49 and $2.99 for the nut. So $10 for two of them, two sets. All right, the new stud is in place. It was binding right here, but I tapped it a few times and it went in. And when I did that, it kind of bent this piece of metal, but I'm going to bend that back out when I'm done. And then we put the lug nut on there, tighten it down, use a breaker bar, and then it'll bring this stud all the way in and seat it. Okay, I've got the new stud and lug nut on, and now I need to put it back into park to lock up the transaxle again. Do that and be right back. Going in slowly, using this breaker bar and my foot, and just going a little bit at a time, not too much pressure all at once. Give it a chance to sit in there. It's making progress. Okay, first replacement stud is in, and it's flush here. I can't get a fingernail in behind it. So now back to putting it in neutral, rotate it around to get this one, and then put it all back together, and it'll be a nice Sunday morning job done. Okay, back in neutral. Spin it around here. All right, tap it out. Here it comes. All right, flew out. Sorry about the lack of a tripod today. I rearranged some things and couldn't locate it this morning. Alright, just letting that down. There we go. I gotta make sure I remember to bend this back out before I put it back together. Okay, now I'll get this nut started on it. That's called extreme close-up in the movie biz. Alright, I'll put the breaker bar on there, tighten that one down, be ready to put it back together. Okay, 2 new wheel studs are in, and be safer to drive now than just on 2, since there's only 4. And just put it back together now. The 17mm bolts for the caliper bracket, and then the 14mm bolts for the caliper. So put the bracket on, then the brake pads back in, the caliper back on, and then the rotor first. Here's the order: rotor, caliper bracket, brake pads. Push that cylinder back a little bit. Caliper, wheel. Then off to work. Almost got started without straightening this back out like I promised myself to. Alright, that's it. Alright, looks good. Well, I was having a heck of a time getting this bracket back on, mainly because it's kind of blind working back here, and the rotor wants to tilt back and forth, making it where the angle to the bracket isn't straight. So what I did was I temporarily put a lug nut on there to hold the rotor straight. Then the bracket went on much easier. Now I'm going to use this welding clamp, welding vice grip, and I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to push this piston back to where this part is level, flush with this part here, the metal, the part here, and then after that I'll be able to put it on easily. Alright, now the piston is flush with the metal surface here, so I'm going to take the bungee jumpers off. And this should fit over the brakes with ease. Yes, no problem. Alright, then I'll put these 2 bolts, 14mm on, put the wheel on, and give it a test drive. Okay, new lug nuts are installed, brake calipers back in place, tightened down, put this wheel on, and have a go. Whole job took me about 45 minutes, less than an hour for sure. Almost as long as it took to go get the parts from the parts store. So I'll get this tire on, take it for a spin. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. I appreciate everyone who thumbs up and subscribes to the channel. Just to let you know, a few more things. We've got this 2001 Dodge Dakota, a few issues with that. Right now the turn signals don't work and the hazards are out. I think that's a combination switch that's underneath the dash. I had an issue with the garage, actual garage door. Hopefully be getting that fixed in about a month, and then I can get back to working on the MGB. I'm looking forward to doing that over this fall and winter. It's just so humid here in the south. So again, thanks for watching.